listeners, welcome to Kyle and Cody's Cult CinemaCast. Welcome to Chaos Mode Part 2. This time it's war. Chaos Mode Part 2. This time it's war. Both historical movies.
First time it was... Yeah, but this one's more historically relevant.
Yeah, I suppose.
That one's a little more historically obscure.
Now, this time, we're watching the good Pearl Harbor movie, Tora Tora Tora, from 1970.
It's a pretty weird hill to be on.
Well, to be fair, I haven't seen Midway, so I don't know if that one's better. No, I never went to see it. I think Dad wanted to. We didn't end up going. I mean, it's definitely better than the Michael Bay one.
Was that Michael Bay or was that Spielberg?
Yeah, no, the actual Pearl Harbor movie, Michael Bay.
I thought it was Spielberg for whatever reason.
Yeah, no. Yeah, looking at it right now, Michael Bay.
But which one did better at the box office?
This one, the 2001 Michael Bay one, by like $300 million. Though that's 2001 money. Yeah, this thing didn't even turn a profit, I don't think. $25 million US budget, 37.15 million box office, I think including rentals, which is not a profit. So that's
yeah, but it made like 19 million yen.
You mean yen?
Is it yen?
Yeah, it's just yen.
Oh.
Zenny is the Dragon Ball Z currency.
Yes.
You're combining them. Yeah, this is a good movie. It's got those glorious pre-CGI explosions where they're actually blowing shit up. And some of the actors occasionally have to actually run for their lives. There is one guy in this who actually runs for his life when like a plane's crashing and he like actually has to turn around and run. Just yay. So yeah, this is a treat to watch because you don't get this sort of stuff nowadays. They just make you do CGI for like half of it at least. Which I'm not like a big CGI hater or anything, but it's something precious to see the practical effects. Roger Ebert figured this was the deadest, dullest blockbuster he's ever seen. I gotta disagree. I was really entranced by it. It's hard to take notes on, but if Go ahead.
I like Vincent Camby's review for the New York Times. He quoted nothing less than a $25 million irrelevancy.
What? Oh, jeez. At least it's not our love story.
Wow.
I wonder if you put these guys in like 2001 after seeing this, make them watch them side by side, and then make them choose which one they'd pick.
Probably Bays still.
I mean, Bays is pretty cringeworthy. That's apparently.
Yeah, but
just like a dumb love triangle movie.
Better graphics.
Yeah, this is pretty decent graphics. I mean, this is pretty impressive to watch.
I mean, here's the thing. We actually just watched probably a movie from 10 years later, and I mean, they were pretty comparable, but I also watched the original one in soft definition. I guess I watched this one in high definition, and that probably made a difference. Wouldn't have looked the same back then.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, in a theater's a bit more high quality usually. Yeah,
it was nominated for 5 Academy Awards. 1 for visual effects.
Absolutely deserved.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. What?
Winner special effects. Best special effects. It won. It was nominated for best art direction, best cinematography.
Sure.
Nominated for best film editing and nominees for best sound. Sure.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I can buy that. Yeah, seems about right.
Mm-hmm.
This is certainly more historically accurate than Bays, which is just a big propaganda piece.
Yeah.
I mean, this shows both sides of the argument. I mean, let's be fine. The Japanese weren't the Nazis. They weren't.
Now you get to use that history degree for something.
Yeah. Not that I like doing World War II a bunch. I don't know. So much World War II stuff. It's like, yeah, I get it. There's Nazis. It was a war. I move on to other stuff. It's like so much more interesting stuff are out there. You find the one good war, and that's all people want to talk about. Yeah, it's fairly historically accurate. Interesting thing to note about this, it doesn't show the President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, or the Emperor of Japan.
Mhm.
Neither of them properly appear in this. We get the Japanese Prime Minister,
Yes.
but no Emperor. It's mostly a movie about the on-the-ground people, Admiral Yamato, and the different guys on the ground and doing intelligence.
Which makes it a very boring, slow-moving 2 hour and
Yeah, to a
24
certain point
minute.
of view. It's very going every step of the way, and that can bore people if they're not really into it, and they're just if you're sitting around waiting for the explosions, it's probably not fun, but it's really like it's about tension building and slowly picking up on how things are going to go wrong and how it went so bad for the states and how they were able to recover from it. I don't want to get too much into it. I suppose we'll start here. Actually, I'm going to break up one more thing. This film has 3 directors. Richard Fleischer is directs the American sequences, and then Toshio Masuda and Kinji Fukasaku are direct the Japanese sequences. So
Mhm.
that's fairly interesting. It's interesting, like you get different points of view, and then both sides can display themselves fairly accurately. One final comment before we get into the plot: the subtitles on the Prime Video version are crap. They are just garbage. There are several scenes where it's just like speaking Japanese. I'm like, no shit. Yeah, no shit. They're speaking Japanese. How stupid do you think I am, precisely? It's like I'd like to hear some of more of the incidental speech that the Japanese guys are doing. Like there's just several moments where it's just like, okay, I don't get to get that line, I guess. And I would have thought this had like inbuilt subtitles from the original release, and it's like, why aren't they there? I mean, there's a
They
certain
were on YouTube.
oh, I watched the Prime Video version. Clearly, that was a
Uh-huh.
mistake. So watch the YouTube version, listeners. If you want if you're so inclined, watch the YouTube version because the Prime one doesn't have proper fucking subtitles.
They also boycott Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep.
Did you hear what protesters are doing outside his house? They rather built a guillotine or they brought a guillotine.
Yes. Oh boy. Yes. Get
Which
him
if
before he
they
can build
built
his giant.
if they built a
Get him before.
guillotine, I mean okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, go get him before he can build his robotic beast suit and become become a supervillain, thereby threatening people before he can, like, I don't know, kidnap some superhero's girlfriend and like hang her from the, I don't know, he's probably Californian, so I assume what's the bridge that Godzilla guys always the guy Godzilla always breaks down? The Golden Gate Bridge?
I want to say it's the Golden Gate Bridge, but I thought that was in New York. The San
I
Francisco
don't
Bridge?
know.
The States is a messed up place. I have
But
no
yeah, no,
clue.
no, yeah, get him before he makes his giant bee suit and terrorizes the innocent.
As I was saying, before we go off on that tangent, if you guys had a guillotine already built, props to you. But if you built a guillotine in front of his house, I mean, double props to you because that takes some time and some commitment.
Oh yeah, you gotta get like stuff. I don't imagine they make guillotine blades anymore.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, you probably have to like make it yourself, which people can do, but still.
I mean, if it's not sharpened when you put Jeff Bezos into it, might not work. But it's
Well, it doesn't need to be that short because you get momentum on the way down. It's like cavalry sabers. They aren't all that sharp usually. It's just meant to take the momentum of like you on the horse and bang. It's mostly weight, really. It helps,
you,
but you don't
you,
necessarily need
you,
it.
do you does it not cut off the head then?
No, it does. Well, the cavalry saber is the guillotine.
The guillotine.
No, it still does. I mean, it's a lot of weight, so like we underestimated it. It's like a lot of
Oh,
weight over like a fine point because the blade's really heavy and it's dropping from a high distance.
okay.
The film opens with spoilers. Yeah, it tells you what's happening from the beginning in big yellow text, telling you that on December 7th they're going to attack. We open to a bunch of Japanese soldiers lining the edges of a ship, introduce to show the Vice Admiral Yamato boarding the ship and taking over, placing the existing commander who's here. It's pointing out, we get a couple scenes where he points out that he opposed the Nazi alliance. Then they cut to them signing the alliance with the Nazis to join the Axis powers. This is all building up to the American oil embargo that will fall on Japan soon. The names, there's so many names in this.
Yeah, this is a pretty big cast.
Yeah, no, it's everyone there is important, but everyone there is important, so it's difficult.
Hmm. I think this is honestly the biggest like cast list I've ever seen.
General Tojo points out that the Allies, the Americans are not yet included into the Allies in World War II yet because they could never show up on time for a fucking war. At least not a good one.
How are you supposed to reap those sweet, sweet war profiteering rewards?
Oh no, they were doing that already. Like they were supplying weapons to the Allies already at this point.
Well, they were also profiting off of raw mineral or raw oil to Japan. So I mean,
Yep. Also, yes, selling to both sides. Like they took all they had already opposed like Japanese invasions of China and other mainland Asian countries, but didn't do it until then. They just decided to do it as they started moving into Indochina, as it was called back in the day. That's not an accurate term anymore. Anyway, yeah, General Tojo is pointing out that the Allies are withdrawing for the region so they could shore up their forces in Europe. Countries like England had been supporting armed resistances in China and whatnot to oppose the Japanese. Those had met to mixed results. Many soldiers were captured in that area. They are going to take advantage of that if they want to. We get a scene that points out that the Americans are intercepting the transmissions from Japan to the Japanese embassy, which allows them to gather no small amount of information.
to me, this just seems like a really bad oversight by the United States at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're getting into that. The Americans show off their ultra list, which is the list of people who have access to this information they're getting from this code breaking machine. It's like 12 people.
Sorry, they're not using it for good at all. What I'm saying is they're not feeding that. What about the allies?
Yeah, no, they're not really giving that it, but yeah, they're not really I don't know how much information they could have put to the allies, but they're not using this to leverage anything either. And like the Japanese do have some stuff that's just written orders too. This is just
Radio
these
transmission
are still
orders.
coded. Yeah. Yeah, so they are vague enough. They don't put anything over them that's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to declare war." It's more stuff that they're able to hint at. It does give a lot of intelligence, but it's not able to do stuff like, say, tell the Americans that they're going to attack Pearl Harbor. It's like, okay, something's going to happen on this date, and they're going to break apart relations at a certain time and stuff like that. They don't get too much specific information. We cut back to the Japanese. They are discussing what they need to do about the Americans because they have put in an oil embargo to keep them from refueling to prevent further trade with the Japanese, which will cause them a bunch of issues. So it's the idea of the Japanese that they need to go eastward for raw materials, which is going to turn out so well for their Nazi friends. This is exactly what the Nazis did. They were having trouble with resources, so they decided to go east and take it from the big resource rich country to the east. The difference being that the Germans largely went into Russia thinking it was going to be an easy victory, whereas the Japanese are going into the States realizing it's a big deal that's going to be very difficult. They point out that their best hope is to try to destroy as much of the fleet, the American fleet, as possible by planning a surprise attack and essentially declaring war the hour before the attack is going to happen so they can maximize the ships they can kill, which is what they need to do in order to win. If they don't, they're going to. The opinion of the Japanese command is that they're going to have to. Is that if they don't, that they'll be able to have like a year where they'll be able to raise havoc. After that, the Americans will start to recover at best. So they need to do as much as they can in that year and perhaps get a quick conditional surrender. There is some very optimistic talk about marching on Washington, but, you know, didn't end up happening. They never struck land in continental United States.
I mean, ideally, you'd think that Washington would probably be one of the easier places to hit.
Well, it's on the other side of the country. You got to go through you got to go through California and everything.
Where's Japan?
Well, it's Pacific Ocean. So
yeah, but that's like Victoria, right?
Yeah.
You got to say things in
Washington. No, Washington.
Got to say
DC.
things in Canadian terms. Oh,
Washington D.C. is on the East Coast.
What am I thinking of then?
Country. Washington State. Washington State is directly below BC. Yeah. They're different. I know it's confusing. They felt the need to name two places after that rich slave owning bastard. We get a little bit more some images from Pearl Harbor. One of the generals is pointing out that they've gotten some rumors about Japanese aggression at some point, but they don't know what's happening. He's looking over the airfields with the planes all spread out far apart and is pointing out that, you know what, we should keep them into a tighter area so that we can keep them guarding against sabotage. One of his contemporaries points out that if you put them close together, the Japanese will be able to just destroy the grounded fleet by just strafing the place very easily, and the explosions from one will hit the other and domino effect. But he's really concerned about sabotage because in the Americans' head, because in Western civilization's head right now, there's a bigger danger of every little minority coming to get you. This is not me making a hyperbolic liberal claim. They put all the Japanese people in concentration camps. That's why they did that, because they figured they were going to all sabotage them at every turn of the century, despite whatever evidence to the contrary you could possibly think of. Yeah, they're setting up the theme for the pre-war United States that they're unprepared for this level of Japanese assault. The rumors that come in later, once they are fairly concerned that they're convinced that they're going to attack, is that it's going to happen someplace closer to Japan, like the Philippines. Was the big thing. They also bring up Borneo and shit, but the Philippines, which is an American colony at this point in history, is the most likely target because it's a lot closer. But as
same with
we
Guam.
heard from the Japanese,
I don't know where Guam is.
Yeah, Guam is closer. Guam was another option. But as the Japanese command, well, closer
Guam's
than
actually still American owned, is it not?
So. Maybe, I don't know for sure. But yeah, and then as the Japanese pointed out, they need to destroy as much as the American fleet as possible, which means going to Pearl Harbor, where most of the Pacific Fleet is held. We also get some information about some of the Pacific Fleet being pulled into the Atlantic Fleet, because that's a more pressing issue right now. There's a good bit of merchant marining going on because the Americans are supplying arms to the Allied forces in Europe. There is some talk about on the Japanese side that the brass wants to kind of half-ass this and half as many carrier fleets, carrier ships to attack Pearl Harbor. The Pearl Harbor attack is going to be largely an air raid. There is some mention of submarine later, but it is a air raid based on torpedo bombers and dive bombers and fighter escort. That is quite effective, but some of the brass thinks that the proper battleships will do more good. But I mean, that's an old way of thinking at this time and period in time, because they're still thinking in World War One logic, which is very much battleship based.
I think one of the lines here was the unsinkable ship is a myth.
Yep.
Didn't they go to war with North Korea for the longest time, and Korea just used turtle ships?
Yeah, that was
or was that China?
No, that was Japan. I'm not as familiar with that. Yeah, there was that was a long time ago though. That was like pre-steamships. But yeah, that was a thing. But I mean, especially I think at this point, the other probably big unsinkable ship would have been the Bismarck, which was sunk in 41. Basically when the entire Royal Navy gangbanged it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, it sunk like the big British ship, the Hood, and then went on like a big rampage run across around the Iberian Peninsula, and then basically every Royal Navy and Royal Canadian Navy ship they could get their hands on went after it, and eventually just everything shot at it, and it just went down eventually. So yeah, battleships aren't entirely invulnerable, and that's especially once you get airplanes involved, which are able to just strafe the things very easily, which is how they destroy a good number of the ships here. We get our next scene with the Americans, which is them setting up a radar system. They pull up to this national park and state that, hey, we're just looking for permits so we can put it on top of that mountain, which is the best place to put it. And I agree, it is the best place to put it. Too bad this entire scene is bullshit, because you can't put that fucking radar station on top of that fucking mountain.
Why?
It's nothing to do with permits. Because it's a big fucking radar station. That's a big fucking mountain. You're thinking there's some easy way to do this? There's not.
Yeah, but they're the military. They probably have an easy way to do it.
No, because here's the thing. There's no helicopters. They have to drive the thing up there on trucks. On a steep mountain.
They would have been fine.
Putting on top of that radar station. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't have. This is objectively what happened in real life. They weren't able to put it up there because they can't put it up there because it's a truck, because it's a mountain. And they're only going
They've
up
got
there
planes,
with trucks,
though.
and this thing weighs hundreds of tons. Yeah, planes don't work that way. You have to like drop it in like an airdrop, and that's sensitive equipment. It would just fall apart.
So what you're saying is the movie completely made an excuse for it, but in
Yes.
all actuality, there's no way, because they're like, the wildlife preservations are going fucking nuts over this. You're not allowed to put military grade weapons on top of a mountain.
Well, it's a radar station, but still, you can't. Yeah, you couldn't have gotten it up there. Anyway, we get some more scenes. We have the Americans. One of the American intelligence officers guess that the attack's going to happen on the 30th, which is about 7 days too fast. The 30th of November, saying, rather than December 7th when it happened. We get some scenes about, like, he deciphers this from the intercepted messages they're getting from the Japanese embassy. He's able to do it through intuition, but he doesn't have any proof, so they can't really act on it just yet. We get some scenes with the Japanese. They show a very a good amount of, I'm going to say, respect for what they're deemed to do. Americans are as what the Americans are as a threat. It's not to like propaganda levels that you get in Pearl Harbor. It's more like, okay, these guys got tons of guns, tons of boats. It's going to be very difficult to deal with. And
Well, on top of that, their economy is like ripe right now because they've been profiting off this war. Their military's completely entirely stocked up because they didn't go to war.
yep,
Like, arguably, I don't know whose idea it was to eventually just be like, we're gonna attack the United States, but it seems to be like very bad oversight on their behalf. And
here's the thing. They need the oil supplies. Like, they cannot continue the war effort unless they're getting oil from the United States. And whether they're going to, if they're not going to trade it with them, they're going to have to make them give it to them. So, I mean, this is necessity. I mean, the obvious answer is don't go to war and don't be a conquering asshole. But yeah, if you're going to go to war and be a conquering asshole, you need oil, and you can't get it from anywhere else.
mhm,
No one else is going to
not
trade
even
it.
Russia.
Well, no, Russia's at war with Germany. So, also, Japan had kicked Russia's ass like in the late 1890s. So they're not going to trade with Japan,
Oh.
even if they weren't. Yeah, no, that was a big symbol in the rising power of Japan, is that they defeated Russia in a war.
Huh.
No, the Japanese-Russo War is. There was some weird word, Japanese-Russo War or whatever. And yeah, Japan won, and that was it's actually a very interesting philosophical discussion that we won't get into. Puts a big hole in a bunch of it really got in a bunch of racist people's craws, because
Mhm.
the Asians had defeated a so-called civilization. Lots of stuff in
That's
there. It's very interesting. It's very the rise of Japanese as a world, as an empire, is very interesting in the context of the imperial European era. It's very
mhm.
interesting. I'd love to talk more about it, but it's just don't have time. We're doing this now. But yeah, no, the Russians wouldn't have traded with them, and any supplies from China are going to have to be contested. So the Americans give out the order that they should be expecting some sort of attack. They don't know where or when, but that Japan must make the first strike um, in order for them to treat it as such. Oh, at this point, the Japanese aircraft carrier fleet has started to pick up Hawaiian radio, symbolizing them getting ever closer to the Pearl Harbor and toward the climax of the movie. The
Mhm.
American officers, hearing some rumors of getting some idea that the Japanese are going to commit some aggressive act, disperse the fleet somewhat. The aircraft carriers were famously not in dock at the time of the Pearl Harbor attack, which was incredibly devastating for the Japanese in retrospect, because that was their main goal was to kill those aircraft carriers, because they are the deadliest thing in World War II naval combat when you get down to it. We see some prep work. Um, the Japanese embassy is waiting for a declaration of war to come. It comes in late, which is bad because this results in them not delivering the declaration of war in time later in the movie, which is results in them sort of accidentally breaking the Geneva Convention, which is not too big a deal. Yeah, it's not. I mean, as far as the acts, like Hitler didn't give a shit, but like Hitler didn't give a shit about it. But yeah, the Japanese would have cared more about it because they were
I'm sorry,
counting on
just
the
the sort of kind of broke the Geneva Convention is something not like you don't want to hear. Like, hey, yeah,
in their defense, they did it by accident. They were fully intending to deliver the declaration of war before the Pearl Harbor attack, which is what you're supposed to do. And it just so happened that it didn't get delivered until after the Pearl Harbor attack.
We gotta look at some intentions here too, because the Japanese Prime Minister was all for war with the United States.
Yep.
However, the Emperor of Japan was not. I don't fully understand.
I think it was mostly just politics. There's always this weird thing where you get the civil servant era of brand of country, the civil servant area of the government, and then the politician era of the government. The politician era of the side of the government is going to be a bit more ideological sometimes. They might be willing to entertain the war a bit more, but the military guys are going to at least have a concept of what's going to happen, and there's a bit of a inevitability that war is going to happen. Whether you interpret that as pragmatism or just hammers seeing every problem as nails, or however that phrase goes, is a matter for debate. But I think that it is an interesting thing because you have guys that are kind of leaders of the people and they see things a little bit differently. They point out that the Japanese emperor had said a poem about if all men are brothers, then why are the tides so restless? Which is an interesting thing. That gives you a lot to think about, I suppose. But yeah, it's just an interesting concept. I think the point is that it's difficult for, like, you never want to go. A lot of people don't want to go to war, and they'll make the big statement, but they're ultimately not willing to live by those meanings, and it often doesn't mean as much when everything comes down to it. Anyway, at this point we get the intermission, because this film has a proper intermission, which it needs it because it's 2.5 hours long, which is nice. Would have been nice for those new Avengers movies to have intermissions. That would have been neat to take a break halfway through them and get a new.
At that point, at what point in time do you have to say as a movie theater, this movie's too long, we should do an intermission?
At 2.5 hours.
But yeah, but what's the movie theater? Yeah, but nobody does it, is what I'm saying. Like what's the downside for whatchamacallit, for a movie theater?
Less showings, honestly, and people complain if you start the movie before everyone's back in their seats. So that's probably the issue, to be honest. So I get why they don't.
But they're going to make more money on concessions if there was a pause halfway through when somebody could easily get up and go to the concession.
True, but they can show more viewings of the movie because you're shaving off probably 2.5 hours a day at least in intermissions, depending on how long you go. Because you probably want to do
20 minutes.
10, yeah, something like that. So we come back and the attack launches as the Americans are coming to the conclusion the attack's going to happen. One of the ships that has been dispersed from Pearl Harbor finds a shub and a Japanese submarine and attacks it with guns and death charges. It's unclear whether it kills it or not. We get the first contact between the American and the Japanese attack force made out of and it is a flight trainer, as opposed to, again, what happened in the 2001 movie, which was just fucking Boy Scouts spotting it first, because that movie is just, yay, we're Americans, we're so happy-go-lucky until we finally get blown up. Yip. 9/11 parallel. I don't know if that movie came out before 9/11 or not. I don't care. Michael Bay sucks.
What do you have against Michael Bay?
He sucks.
Okay.
Make a good Transformers movie. It's not that hard. They're robots. They're robots that shoot things. Why are we talking about Sam Witwicky? He sucks. He's just making stupid jokes and Why am I watching this small dog hump this bigger dog? Why am I watching a thing
Shia
about
LaBeouf.
Shia? Yeah, why am I watching Shia LaBeouf? Why is he my hero? He's not. Show me more Starscream stuff. Starscream's the best part of Transformers. He's about a third of the plot, and yet he's dead in the first fucking movie.
They all die.
Most of them do, yeah. Yeah. All the fucking Transformers are dead, by the way. They only kept Optimus and Bumblebee. The rest got
What?
replaced. Because basically, yeah, by the fourth one, it's only Bumblebee and Optimus left. It's heavily implied that the other ones die. Because
Heavily implied?
fuck. Yeah, because they're just like, oh yeah, the government's hunting down Transformers because the government's evil or something. Fuck, I hate those movies. It doesn't make sense. They're hard to pay attention to. The only reason I saw the last one was because I was sick and I wanted something to watch. And it was something to fall asleep to. I only saw like an hour and a half or 2.5 hours of it. And it's 2.5 hours, fuck sakes. It's like I like long movies, but it's like, why does Michael Bay get to make a 2.5 hour long movie? He's not good at storytelling. He breaks the fundamental rules of being able to do that. You need to be able to sit through something entertaining or something like deep storytelling. But Michael Bay is completely incompetent of this. How come no one stops him?
I mean, I guess at what point in time do you just agree that that's on you, though?
Well, fuck, I didn't go to the fourth one on purpose. My dad made me go.
You said I've watched like 5 of them.
But yeah, Dad always wants to go to them, and I was stupid when I watched the first two.
Cause I stopped watching after they took out Shia LaBeouf.
Well, fuck, I didn't even like. See, the third one was actually one of the better ones, and then they went with Mark Wahlberg, who's just like has all the charisma of a buff Shia LaBeouf. Like he's that's his one. That is his one superior. That's the one way in which he's superior to Shia LaBeouf is that he's just a bit more buff and he's more eye candy, I guess. And that's all the positive things I can say about Wahlberg is that he's better to look at than Shia LaBeouf.
He also owns more restaurant chains than Shia LaBeouf that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and what does that do for me? They're probably in the States. I can't go to them
right now
or ever. I don't care.
One day.
Go.
I don't really want to go to the States right now.
Yeah, no, it's like why would I that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna travel the world and travel the United States and go to all Mark Wahlberg's restaurants.
Well, you said it.
This is what I'm gonna do with my time, I guess, because that's
money.
The world I live in, I guess. Fuck. I got better things to do, like finishing the podcast. Where am I? Subattack. Oh yeah, the flight trainer's the first person to meet the Japanese plays. It's a woman training a pilot, and then she just like, oh fuck, these are military planes. I'm taking over, and then fucking does a barrel roll and pisses off out of there, which is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I like her. She's a cool character. So, funny thing, as they're flying down, as the Zeros are flying through across the island, because they're coming in from behind the island instead of straight forward, because they're trying to do a surprise attack.
Mm-hmm.
They show the Pearl Harbor Memorial. You remember that little cross that was in the hills? Like that white cross that was in the hills? That's the Pearl Harbor Memorial. So
was that intentional?
I'm gonna chalk it up to saying yes. It's like, hey, Frederick, should we edit this out? Nah. I mean, it's symbolic. You just don't want to blur it out. It's too much work for you, isn't it? Yeah, but I mean, it's symbolic. I'll tell them to that, and they'll think I'm brilliant. They didn't think he was brilliant.
It's like
he died sad.
Giant continuity error.
Yeah, just like a 60 years continuity error. I'm taking it as foreshadowing because it's a interesting thing. As they're the Japanese attack force is catching the Americans with their pants down. They're doing a bunch of flag raising ceremonies, the Zeros fly over one flag raising ceremonies, and one of the officers is just like, "Hey Dick, remind me to report him for a safety violation." And then the plane drops a bomb, and he's like, the best joke in the movie. Let me report him for a safety violation. Boom. Yeah, so the fighting started. We get an absolutely amazing shot of the Arizona getting blown to shreds. It is absolutely lovely. These are the best explosions. We get our clip of the best actor in the movie running for his life from that plane, like I had mentioned earlier. The Nevada makes a run for it. It sort of gets away. It's heavily damaged, though. Earlier in the movie, some of the planes had been sent to airstrips on the other islands, and those planes get into the air and dogfight a couple Zeros, as opposed to all the planes that were set up on Pearl Harbor, which were decimated. They were tried to take off and were shot down, just as we had been warned about earlier in the movie. People had tried to talk him down, but he wasn't able to do it. The Arizona has also crashed into the water supply, and that keeps them from setting things on fire. We get one awesome shot of a Zero getting shot down and then falling into a hangar, which is pretty fictionalized. It's like a combination of like 3 different events amalgamated into one for the sake of brevity. So that's a thing to note. As the Zero Force pulls back to go reload, the pilots pull in and realize that the second wave never left. The commander says that there's no point, that the carriers since the carriers aren't there, they're not going to be able to get as much of a strike as they wanted. He also points out that they've done a lot of damage, and that they also need to return this fleet to the homeland intact so they can do more damage later, because there's going to be a long war ahead. It turns out that only like 3 of the ships were irreparable, which is still a lot. But yeah, the notices from Washington finally arrive in Hawaii to let them know that the war has been declared. And then the movie closes with the ambassadors are talking to the Secretary of War, and it's a very weird scene. It's a bit framed like they're kind of like breaking up. Like he's just like, "This is the biggest load of lies anyone's ever told me. I feel really hurt, my friend." He's like, "But Mr. Will," he's like, "just leave. Leave." And then they leave, and it's really sad. Anyway, the movie ends with Yamato giving the quote, which isn't actually real, of America, them waking a sleeping giant and filling it with resolve by bombing Pearl Harbor. It's doubtful that he said this, and to be fair, he also supported the attack. Him saying this would have been more like, geez, we're doing a big thing here. This is going to be a big job, but darn it, we need to do it. Hopefully it turns out okay. What do you think, my co-host?
I don't have a whole lot to say about this. It was slow moving. The action scenes weren't very great. I feel like a lot of it was trying to impose comedy rather than show actual destruction, stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just really, really desensitized to actual violence, where I'm like, I need real explorers. I guess fake explosions, because like all the newer explosions aren't even real. To even really make me consider.
It's like what all those guys claim about pornography, that you'll watch too much of the fake thing and you'll never be satisfied by the real thing anymore.
But yeah, with that being said, I'm not gonna. It's historically accurate, I guess. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah,
I don't know.
They do their best.
It's very slow moving, though. I'm gonna give it about a 5 out of 10. I'm not gonna give it much higher than that.
I'll give it a good 8 out of 10. It's long, but I like my movies long.
Just but long.
And I
Subtitled.
also don't have a dog in this. Yeah. Yeah, I also don't have a dog in this race, so it's not, I'm not counting on, like, this being made into a big propaganda piece for my country. So, I just get to watch other people screw up for, 2.5 hours, which, can't complain about. But yeah, it's, very interesting to watch the build up toward it. You don't always get to see stuff like this. It's a very interesting look into, ground level military stuff.
Also, this is why I don't watch war movies, or at least war movies that I don't already have like a decent background knowledge in. Like, because I already know what happened at Pearl Harbor. That just doesn't interest me because I've already seen it all. I've watched it. I know what happens. I know what happens in the end. This gives it a little bit better of the minute details, but like all in all, it's not that really
I mean, you can say it
necessary.
about every historical movie. I mean,
Yes.
it's like it's a bit like how the history buffs guy had like predicted like did a video about what would happen in future seasons of Vikings, and then History Channel hired him and it was just like, don't give out spoilers, please. Yeah, no, they were just like, yeah, don't talk about the future seasons of the show where they'll know what we're doing. Very good movie. I like it. I like real blow up. But yeah, no, the explosions in this are just glorious. I love them. I like seeing the things fall apart and just like you don't. It's a lot of work that would get put into like like an animated explosion that you don't get. You like can see like a propeller just like authentically blowing up and like bouncing off the ground, which is what you don't normally get with CG explosions.
Unless you specifically
Yeah,
add them in because it's CGI, and you can do that.
yeah, it's a certain speed that you gotta get, and it's like it's really satisfying to watch in real life.
I'll give it this much. I've seen some. What I was gonna say is I've seen a lot of early like action movies do really bad explosions. This one does its explosions pretty decently.
Oh
I'll give
yeah,
it that
like
much.
the things explode and they don't like explode all the way. So they just kind of like fall apart and like collapse in on each other afterwards, which is almost as important. You don't normally get the aftermath in the same way. And it's just like catch and release. I don't know. Yeah, so that's all I got for this week.
Hmm.
So next episode is going to be the 20th episode. I am going to put up a Facebook poll immediately after I finish recording here. You can find us on Facebook at Kyle and Cody's called CinemaCast. Follow us on Twitter at KCCCinemaPod. And then give us those 5-star reviews, like, comment, subscribes, circulate the links. Remember to tune in for next week. You'll see what that is. It's up to you. The power is yours. The power is yours. The power is yours.